Hey guys, welcome back. So continuing on from the last video, I said I was going to show you how to do a scout rush using the perfect dark edge. So this is going to be that follow-up video. Starting off, we're just going to reach the feudal age. We'll have the resources for getting the stable up as soon as we can. The villager which was in queue is going to be continued, and you basically put every villager back to food under your town center once you have the word for the stable and the first word upgrade. Since we're up this quickly, we won't be able to produce scouts constantly, but we want our first few scouts to be arriving at the enemy as quickly as possible. The variation I am showing is more suited for team games than it is for 1v1s, so keep that in mind. We're not going to be making that many spearmen, and we're going to be playing with basically all the upgrades. Before making the farms, it is advisable to get horse collar. Skipping it will really hurt you in the mid-feudal age. If you skip it, you can probably squeeze out maybe 2 more extra scouts using the build order, but my advice will be to be against it. Rather than that, just go for the early 3 scouts. After that, you'll have a little bit of idle in your stable. That's completely fine, but you want to be making scouts basically as soon as you can. Once you are able to do both of them at the same time, the villager and the scouts. So there was a little bit of idle time, but my first 3 scouts have arrived to help my ally or hit my enemy's flank. That's what I'm going to be simulating over there. While all of that is happening, you only want to have 8 on word, 4 on berries, rest of them under the town center, and every 60 word you're going to be making a farm. I'm putting these villages on straggler, distributing them, and while you're doing all of this, make a couple of houses. I'm not rushing my walls. I've not spent any resources on making a palisade. I just want to be saving all my wood to continuing to make farms the entire time, and the farm count that I'm looking for is 12 before I make the blacksmith, which I need to get for the first armor. Since it's a team game, I want to have enough scouts while having the numbers and the armor to engage the enemy's archers. With other civilizations which have a little bit more food bonus compared to Saracens, where I'm not even using the market, I'm gonna go for the raw eco balance. In this one, I'm going to be going for 12 farms before I make the blacksmith. With other civilizations with more food bonuses, I would recommend something like 10 farms, if that's what you guys would be able to pull off. If you skip horse color, you can still do 10 farms, but with getting horse collar, going up this quickly, 12 farms, getting a blacksmith is the way to go in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to be attacking the AI as much. I'm just going to be simulating the build order. We're going to be continuing on, make at least 2 more farms after the blacksmith, which gives us a total of 14. And we're going to be sending 3 of our stragglers, which were on the board next to the town center, to the gold mine, which will allow us to get bloodlines at the same time relatively quick. You want to have at least 8 to 10 scouts before you research it. Same number of scouts would be needed if you are going to get the armor as well. Again, you can cut the scout production, make the blacksmith faster if you want it, but this would be the ideal timing to get it while being able to produce scouts the entire time. Get armor, make more farms, and we're going to be adding a second stable just to simulate the high amount of scouts people have been playing right now. So once your bloodline comes in, you stop making farms as soon as you have surrounded up to like 16ish, just so that I can sustain the second stable. I'm just going to be waiting a little bit for the second stable. Yep. Once I make the second stable, continuing to make the scouts at the same time. I'll also get forging and make a second lumber camp. After your second stable, do not make more farms. Just add a second lumber camp and go for the distribution on both of your wood lines with rest of the villages which would have been going to stragglers. You're going to be spending those villages to go on wood, and every extra wood you bank, you'll turn those wood villages back into food until you have something like 20 to 22 farms. Continue making scouts from both the stables until the requirement is complete. My advice would be to continue making scouts if you're fighting a lot. If you're not fighting a lot, cut production, send villages to gold, and click up to the next stage. But we are going to be simulating a scenario where we are just hammering down the scouts while all of us are fighting in the feudal age. At around 22 farms, I'm getting wheelbarrow. It allows my farmers to be much more efficient, and I'm going to be distributing rest of the villages back to gold. Once you decide to get wheelbarrow around 22 farms, you can make more scouts, add a third stable if you really want to continue making more scouts in feudal age, or just try to prepare for going into castle age. If you were any other civilization, you could have been making a market to balance your economy to go up a little bit faster than this. Saracens can probably click up even faster, but this should be completely fine. While all of this is happening, I was also making houses in a way to completely wall myself. In team game, it's pretty useful just to have a little bit of stuff around your base. You ideally want to control the map with just pure unit mass, but if that is not happening, I would recommend walling slowly rather than not at all. It allows you to have some safety to fall back on if things go wrong. Now we click up 22 on food, which is mostly farmers, and we're going to be removing the villages from wood so that in the end we only have 10 villages on wood. Adding a third stable while going up, and it just depends on if you want more scouts. I'm going to add more because we want to play light cav. If you have anything above like 6 scouts left over with like good hit points, get light cav upgrade. But if you don't have that, just skip the light cav upgrade and continue making knights. So now we're just gonna be going the castle age, make scouts the entire time. We're gonna bank up a lot of resources since we have wheelbarrow, a lot of villages in gold, only like 9 to 10 villages in wood, which will allow you to reseed all the farms. You do not want to add town centers as quickly because you won't be able to afford it with the amount of production we're going for. I made scouts the entire time, so I'm not floating a lot of food. If you cut a couple of scout productions, you would be able to afford the economy upgrades a little bit more efficiently than I did in this one. And now we're up to the castle age. Get light cav, get husbandry, +2, queue a couple of knights. If I had, like, let's say one less scout, I would be able to afford the wood upgrade, but it's fine. It's not the biggest deal just yet. And there goes my villages to food. I want ideally around 25 to 30 farmers before I even think about adding a second town center. You can add it a little bit earlier if you're not making as many knights as I am, but I'm not going to be stopping knights the entire time. We're going to be making triple stable knights after the heavy feudal scouts follow up, and going to be pumping out knights like no tomorrow. I'm eyeing on that wood upgrade, feeling like if I can skip some production, I can maybe afford it. And there's a little bit of wood float, which is completely fine because most of these farmers, which we seeded in feudal age, are going to be running out soon. So having a little bit of bank is completely fine. You could have been making a second town center right now, but again, just for the safety, because I am not individually counting how much food on each farm is remaining. I like a little bit of float on my wood at this stage of the game, just because I don't want to be running out of farms at the critical moment. At around 28 farms, I'm just gonna send a couple of villages back to gold so that we simulate the 14 on gold, which we need for triple stable constant production with like basically no downtime between production cycles. So I'm gonna get the gold upgrade and add a couple more villages to gold so that I'll start basically burning through all of my gold while having no idle time on my stables. I was able to produce without having the 14 on gold with the second gold upgrade just because I was banking a little bit during the early feudal age, and now that bank is gone. We have basically exhausted all our gold in reserve which we had, and we are basically pushing it to the maximum extent. I'm also trying to squeeze in the wood upgrade. As soon as I can afford it, I will want to get it, but again, just starting to skip a couple of night productions just so that I can squeeze in those economy upgrades. I don't want to be delaying them a little bit for too long because wood upgrade pays off for itself at this stage. Like if I would have made a couple of less scouts, it would have paid off at this stage anyway. So if you can cut some scout for the economy upgrades, I would recommend that. But in situations where you need to make army, you have to skip the economy upgrades to get those. We have a lot of cavalry, so it is worth to get the +2 attack in Castle Age. This is something people weren't doing, but if you have a big mass of units, it's actually better to get the upgrades. Who would have known? That's something people have started to do, and I am in full agreement with this. At this stage of the game, you're going to be running out of gold since you're double mining camping the first big gold. So you're going to be looking for expanding to your extra golds as well. We're only sitting on 2 town centers. We did not go for the 3 town center boom, which was the old meta of playing it. 3 stable constant production requires you to actually underboom and early castle age a little bit, just so that you can pump out a lot of army to control the map. And then eventually, once you have the map supporting your flank, you can boom a little bit more. I could be adding 2 more extra town centers if I had the market at this stage of the game, or instead of adding a town center, I would be adding 3 more stables and 2 town center and add more villages to gold. Those could be the follow-ups. Like, I can pump out even more army at this stage instead of the 3rd town center, or just continue making the 3rd town center and make knights at the same time. I'm not going to be adding production. I'm just going to stick with 3 stables the entire castle age. That should allow me to have a big mass of units from the early castle age to the late castle age. You don't really want to touch the production if you can continue it the entire time. Now, the next step is basically just make some farms, get some eco upgrades, and try to get to Imperial Age whenever you can squeeze in. If you have a big mass of units, you should be starting to think about Imperial Age with good map control. If you're behind, add more stables, get map control back from your enemy, raid your enemy, slow his economy down, and then click Imperial. You basically don't want to be clicking Imperial when you don't have map control, because you will take damage in your economy. So to prevent damage, just add more production. Since we have a lot of knights, that's not something we would be that worried about, but it will super depend on what is happening in the game. You'll have to read the game state to understand what the situation requires. So at this stage, I'm cutting a little bit of army production at this stage, since I'm getting close to that 40 on food. New villages can go to gold, and I'm going to be looking to get my second buildings up. I'm going to be adding a monastery and a university or a siege workshop, depending on what you need. I just do a university because it's kind of useful, a little bit more as the cavalry player, to upgrade the university technologies. And once you're getting ready to click up, send 10 villages from your wood line to the stone mine. Allows you to get a castle, gets some treb out, get conscription, all the useful technologies you would be getting in Imperial Age. And now we have the resources to click up. 35-minute up click, but in exchange for that, we have made at least 50 knights in this scenario. So you could be clicking up quicker if you needed to make a little bit less army than I did in this scenario, and around approximately 21 to 22 light cav. So that's the amount of army output I have done. 100 villages, 171 population. Pretty good uptime, getting all my economy technologies that I have missed out on. Did not get the farm upgrade. Gonna be stopping a couple of knights, adding 3 more stables while going up, giving us a total of 6. I don't have access to Paladin, but if you were a Paladin civilization, you would be going for that. The reason I demonstrate these scenarios using Saracens is because they do not get any economy advantages. So if I can pull it off with Saracens, you can pull it off with any of your favorite cavalry civilizations. Getting to 50 farmers, securing my second gold mine, just continuing to produce units the entire time until I'm 200 population. That's the target. I'm gonna be deleting some knights to simulate some fighting that happened in Castle Age with those knights. Running out of gold a little bit, but it's completely fine. You can just idle a little bit to get those upgrades. I'm gonna make a castle with those stone miners. Ideally, you want to make it on a hill. And around the time you make a castle is when I like to send villages to the corner to make the market. That's a good timing to remember if you struggle with adding trade. Just send the villages to the corner when you make your castle. That way you almost never really run out of gold. That's a very good timing to have. Once your castle is up, add a couple more production, finalize your economy and army. Pick up relics with the monastery you made. Once your castle is up, get conscription. One of the best upgrades to get once you're up to the next stage, makes all your production very efficient. Continue making villages. Around 120 to 130 population would be ideal in terms of villages. Add a market in the corner. Think about where you would wall up the entire map. The stone miners you can basically leave on the stone, and you can use the extra stone to get the castles on a neutral gold on the map to secure it, or some important hill in the middle of the map to make sure your units can have a safety net to fall back on when you're fighting in the map. And yeah, of course, go for the big walls all over the map to secure the trade line. Just all the good team game stuff you would be doing as a pretty good pocket. Your allies would really thank you if you are able to pull off all these things that I'm suggesting. And yeah, just make sure you're 200 population. I'm gonna be adding markets wherever. It really doesn't matter. If you have one market in the corner, the rest of the markets can be wherever on the map. And that basically ends the demonstration. Yeah, I was going to resign. It's a standard AI. It won't fight for long. And that's pretty much it.